From a driver entering the wrong pit box to an F1 driver almost beating up a cameraman, here are the 20 weirdest moments in Formula One history. 1. Let's begin with the drama that happened at the 2020 Bahrain Grand Prix. Everything was going smoothly until a dog decided to join the race.
Oh, it's a dog on the track again.
At least the dog did a better job than Nicholas Latifi. Yeah, that dog didn't crash. And Vettel's reaction to seeing that dog on the track was priceless. 2. Our canine friend got off the track safely, but Sebastian Buemi's car at the 2010 Chinese Grand Prix wasn't so lucky. It's weird how both front wheels decide they've had enough and fly off in different directions. The engineers later found out that a new part on Buemi's car had failed, causing both wheels to break loose. It's hard to believe how quickly things can go wrong. 3. And talking about things going wrong, in 2004, Jaguar Racing pulled off one of the most extravagant and bizarre stunts in F1 history at the Monaco Grand Prix. Teaming up with the movie Ocean's 12 for a bit of Hollywood flair, they decided to deck out their cars with something a little extra. £150,000 diamonds on the noses of Mark Webber's and Christian Klean's cars. Yes, you heard that right, diamonds on race cars. As you might guess, this plan didn't go as smoothly as hoped for. On the very first lap, Klean crashed out of the race, and guess what? That shiny diamond never to be seen again, probably shattered into 1,000 pieces in the crash. What a disaster! 4. Now, do you know what else is a disaster? Finishing 24th in an F1 race. This has only happened once in F1 history, and it happened to Narain Karthikeyan. This unusual record was set at the 2011 European Grand Prix in Valencia, a race where not a single car retired. In that race, the HR team was, as usual, bringing up the rear. Karthikeyan finished just behind his teammate Vitantonio Yuzzi and was that 3 times. With Formula One currently limiting teams and drivers, it looks like Narain's peculiar record is safe for a while, unless of course F1 has a change of heart and lets in more teams like Andretti, making the grid even bigger. For now though, Narain Karthikeyan remains the undisputed king of 24th place. 5. If you ever need proof that even the greatest can have an off moment, just remember that time Hamilton tried to pit with the wrong team. You see, this was only Hamilton's second race for Mercedes after leaving McLaren, and when you've spent your whole career at one team, moving to another can be a bit disorienting. The Hamilton incident is a classic case of muscle memory gone rogue. 6. Next one is one of the weirdest moments in F1 history, and something you'll probably never see again. Happened during the 2007 European Grand Prix. It's like the F1 cars decided to have a meet-up at a specific spot on the track.
And this is going to get nasty. They're planing off the racetrack. The intermediates will...
Not 1, not 2, but 6 cars decided to take an unexpected pit stop all in the same spot. The gravel trap became an impromptu parking lot. 7. Juan Pablo Montoya isn't known for his patience, and he proved that when he walked out of a press conference, although to be fair this time it wasn't really his fault.
Right, thank you very much.
And with that...
Honestly, what on earth were those reporters asking? It turns out that those guys weren't even real reporters, they were comedians pretending to be journalists. The sponsors must have been fuming, but the real question is, how on earth did these pranksters get access to the conference room in the first place? 8. That was a weird press conference, but it's nothing compared to the craziness that happened at the 2021 Hungarian GP.
It's going to be lights out and away we go for Lewis Hamilton only.
Confused about what happened? Well, here's what happened. The race started under chaotic conditions, with rain falling just before the start. All 20 cars began on intermediate tyres, but 2 multi-car crashes led to a red flag. During the stoppage, the track dried quickly. As the race was about to restart, every car except Lewis Hamilton switched to slick tyres. This led to the astonishing sight of Hamilton all alone on the grid, while everyone else started from the pit lane. 9. And speaking of pit lanes, there was a time when a team's pit crew completely forgot to do their job.
Extraordinary. When Solo came in, did he say? Well, this is ludicrous. This is not going to have a...
The crew definitely didn't expect their car to pit at that moment. 10. And if you think that's wild, you've got to see this.
Oh dear.
That's a man risking his life to clear the track. This guy's dedication is off the charts. He clearly loves his job more than his life. Someone please give this man a raise. 11. While that marshal is being hailed as a hero, the same can't be said for the guy who thought the best way to send a message to the world was by standing in front of a car speeding at 160 miles per hour.
Oh my goodness me, just like Hockenheim a couple of years ago, we've got a lunatic on the track, down the Hanger Straight, 160 miles an hour.
For those wondering about what he had on his chest, he had a religious banner on his chest that read, "Read the Bible. The Bible is always right." This same guy disrupted the 2004 Olympic marathon in Athens, which got him defrocked from the Catholic Church in 2005. But should you risk your life just to preach? Hey, that's none of my business. Let's get back to F1. 12. During the 1995 Hungarian GP, the safety car ended up causing more chaos than it prevented.
Oh, goodness gracious me, now that...
Not many people become famous for being run over, but Taki Inui did just that. This incident made him a household name. If it hadn't happened, his name might have been forgotten. Blessing in disguise, perhaps. While Taki Inui is remembered today for some bizarre moments in F1, Michael Schumacher is remembered for a number of mind-blowing moments. One of his legendary moments came when he won a race from the pit lane. Sounds unbelievable, right? Well, here's how it happened. At the 1998 British Grand Prix, Schumacher was handed a stop-go penalty for overtaking another car behind the safety car just 2 laps before the race ended. Most people thought this penalty would cost him the victory, but Ferrari had a clever twist up their sleeve. Ferrari executed a brilliant strategy and served the penalty at the end of the final lap. Schumacher crossed the finish line while entering the pit lane before actually stopping. This ingenious timing meant he still won the race despite the penalty. Talk about a dramatic finish. 14. Anis Alonso is a pro at what he does best, racing. The same can't be said for Lance Stroll. This guy nearly took out a team member. Luckily for the team member, no major injuries were sustained. Good thing Stroll's dad's a billionaire. He can afford all the treatments in the world if needed. 15. At the 2002 US Grand Prix, Ferrari drivers Michael Schumacher and Rubens Barrichello decided to try something never before seen in F1. They wanted to cross the finish line almost together.
Second. I thought it was a good opportunity to go equal over the line. We tried, and we failed by a little bit.
Well, they finished just 0.011 seconds apart, with Barrichello taking the win. Why did they do this? Well, it was Schumacher's way of repaying Barrichello for the controversial team order at the Austrian Grand Prix, where Rubens had to slow down to let Michael win. 16. Now remember that bizarre race we spoke about earlier with just one car on the starting grid? Well, the 2005 US Grand Prix took weird to a whole new level. Not only did 6 cars start the race, but those same 6 cars were the only ones to finish it.
Schumacher leads away from Rubens Barrichello, but 2 Jordan.
Thankfully, none of them ran into each other in the first turn.
So what happened? It all came down to a major fiasco with Michelin tyres. The high speeds and banked turn 13 at Indianapolis led to several tyre failures during practice. Michelin admitted they couldn't guarantee the safety of their tyres for the race, leaving only the 6 cars equipped with Bridgestone tyres to compete. The result was a rare one, but it handed Ferrari their best finish of the year. 17. Back in the wild days of the 1950s, Formula 1 was a whole different ballgame. Safety for both cars and tracks was almost non-existent. Cars barely had any downforce, and here's the craziest part: drivers could actually share cars. Yep, you heard that right. If the lead driver in a team had to retire, the team could call in their other driver, have him hop out of his car, and let the lead guy jump in and continue the race. It was like a weird game of tag, but with high-speed race cars. This odd practice led to some shared victories, the most famous being at the 1957 British Grand Prix at Aintree. Sterling Moss and Tony Brooks shared the win for Van Wall, swapping seats mid-race. These days, drivers stick to their own rides, and thankfully, that strange rule is long gone. 18. Now, during that era of drivers, sharing cars, and even a few years after that, reliability was a constant headache for teams. Just ask Andrea De Cesaris. The poor guy had a streak where he couldn't catch a break. Literally. He went an entire season without seeing the checkered flag thanks to one mechanical issue after another. Imagine going 22 races without finishing. Weirdly, he did achieve a podium finish during that streak, but his car ran out of fuel in the closing meters of the race, meaning he had technically retired. However, he kept his third place as the cars behind didn't finish on the same lap as him. Sometimes luck has a weird sense of humour. 19. Today, F1 isn't frequently plagued with reliability issues, but the rules are stricter. Back in 2015, when the turbo hybrid power units were still new, Honda was having a rough time. They kept fitting new parts into the McLaren cars, and at the 2015 Mexican Grand Prix, they managed to rack up a whopping 70-place grid drop for Jenson Button. Yes, you read that right. 70 places. These days, it's a bit simpler. If a driver needs too many new power unit components, they're just sent to the back of the grid. However, it can still get a bit chaotic when several teams decide to do this in the same race. 20. There was a time when an F1 team won a race with the weirdest car you'll ever see in F1 history. This happened in 1978 with the Brabham BT46B. This car was unlike anything else on the grid. It had a massive fan on the back that created incredible downforce by literally sucking the car onto the track. Brabham only raced this engineering marvel once at the Swedish Grand Prix. Niki Lauda was the lucky driver behind the wheel, and with all that extra grip, he dominated and won the race. And despite the FIA giving them the green light to use the fan for the rest of the season, Brabham decided not to push their luck with this quirky design. They'd made their point. Sometimes the wildest ideas can actually work.